Good morning, everybody. All right, I'm just gonna give this a minute because it looks like it's giving me some sort of spinning wheel. Okay, I think that we are live. Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit late this morning. I got distracted trying to get a photo off my computer onto my phone that I'm going to post on Instagram later. Hopefully that'll be worth it. We'll see that in a few minutes. But anyway, good morning. For those of you who haven't had the chance to talk with me yet, I'm Jack Ori, the leader of the support network for parents of transgender kids, and I am a parenting coach helps who helps moms stop worrying about their kids' choices and start rebuilding the close relationship that they want to have with them, especially and other transgender, neurodiverse, and other youth who may be a little bit outside of the box. So, today, what I want to do is I want to address the issue of discussing puberty with your transgender kids. I know some of you have had some questions about that, and I thought it would be a good way to start our Monday to discuss it. Um, so, full disclosure, I have not had the opportunity to talk with kids about puberty, but being transgender myself, I think that I do have something to offer. The first thing I want to say is that for all parents, I think that having the puberty talk is a little bit awkward in some ways, whether your child is transgender or cisgender, but that there are special challenges, right, when it comes to transgender kids because we want to make sure that we're not misgendering them. We want to make sure we're not making their gender dysphoria worse, and all those sort of things. So the first thing that I would suggest is, to not make it completely something new and different because this is a challenge that happens for everybody. And I think the biggest thing here is that we want to get away from using gendered language. And that's a real challenge because for most of us, when we went through puberty, our parents or our teachers or whoever we spoke with, if they spoke with us at all, might have talked about, well, girls' bodies do this or boys' bodies do this. Your voice is going to change because you're a boy becoming a man, or you're going to get a period, and you're going to get and your chest is going to develop, and those kinds of things. If you were a girl becoming a woman, but with trans people, the fact is that those bodily changes still may happen, but it doesn't have to do with the gender. So the first thing to get with that gendered language, and you use the gender pronouns and references that your child uses, and just so, or use gender neutral language. Like you might be able to say, I want to talk to you about some changes that are going to happen in your body that may be uncomfortable for you because a lot of these changes are usually associated with becoming a man or becoming a woman, but this is something that's biological, and I want you to know it doesn't change for me what I see you as. That I still support you as whatever their target gender is, and that's a really good way to begin. And then the next thing you can do is you can explain what some of the changes are, and as you're talking, ask your child, "How do you feel about this? What kind of feelings do you have about this?" Because you don't want to assume gender dysphoria is different for everybody. And I think that sometimes as parents of trans kids, we tend to assume this is going to trigger my child, this is going to upset my child. And it's true that for a lot of transgender kids, that can happen. It's true that for many trans people, um, especially the things that are really associated with their birth gender, can be upsetting, like getting facial hair or not getting facial hair, chest developing or chest not developing, getting a period or not getting a period, that kind of thing. Uh, but you want to ask, and then you want to use your active listening skills throughout. And by active listening, what I mean is, I want you to be asking your child first. Ask the question. We just talked about how you may be developing your chest in a way that a lot of people associate with women. How does that make you feel? and be open to what your child says and then repeat it back to them. I hear that you're feeling uncomfortable about this. I hear that you're feeling afraid that people are going to think you're a girl or that kind of thing. Um, so you want to repeat it back to them and try to get the feelings in there, and then listen to their response and take it from there. And don't be afraid of bringing this up, and also don't be afraid of what they might say. Don't be afraid of getting it wrong. They'll correct you if they do. So all of those kinds of things. So that's the first thing. That's the second tip. The first tip was to get away from using gender language and affirm what their gender identity is. The second tip is to talk to them at each step about what they're feeling about this. And the third thing is to talk to them about how they might handle puberty. There are things that can be done. Some people, if you and your child's other parent are on board, and depending on state laws and all sorts of things like that, you may be able to get hormone blockers for your child, which are medications that essentially freeze puberty, so they don't have to deal with this. And that's something that's reversible. If they go off the medication, puberty will start, so you don't have to worry about it being a permanent change if you're not sure that this is right for your child. So that's an option, and for some people that may not be an option. I know for some people the parents might not both be on board, or there might be other reasons why they can't do it, or there might even be medical reasons why they can't do it, all sorts of things. Or it may not be something your child is comfortable with or something you're comfortable with, and that's okay. So, if you do that, if you don't want to do that, you can, for whatever reason, or you can't do it, then that's something to talk about with your child. Well, we're not going to do this. How do you feel about the fact that we're not doing this? And talk about what some other solutions might be. For example, for a trans boy, or you might talk about binders, which are things you can get to wear around your chest to make the chest look flatter, so that puberty up there is not obvious. Um, there's also things that they can wear in between their legs if they want to have that bulge. Um, and again, these are things that are different for each trans person, and so you want to talk with your child about whether that's something they want to do. You might want to talk with them about the issue of facial hair, if they're going to get facial hair, if their voices can get deeper, that kind of thing. And this is pretty essentially the same for transgender and for non-binary people, because non-binary people may want some of this, none of this, or all of this. So the key is just to talk with your child about, okay, here's what we can do. If the idea of hormone blockers is something that's appropriate for your family, you can talk about that. If it's something you can't or don't want to do, you can talk about how we're going to deal with these changes. What kind of changes to your dress and appearance are we going to make? What kind of other things are we going to do? If you have a child, for example, who is a transgender girl becoming a woman, or a non-binary person who does not want facial hair, you can consider things like waxing, shaving, all those kinds of things to try to get that, to try to help. Um, if it's a non-binary person, or who is more masculine leaning, or a transgender boy, you can talk about binders. You can talk about other things you can do. So that's pretty much what I have to share with you today. We talked about the issue of transgender kids and puberty, how to have that conversation, and my three tips for you are: one, to open the conversation using non-gender language, talk about some of the things that are going to happen, and say that, and reaffirm your child's gender identity as you talk about it. Um, Two, as you explain, take the time to ask your child how they are feeling and use active listening skills to reflect back their feelings to them, so that we're not assuming, and so that any of their feelings about puberty are dealt with. And number three, talk to your child about what interventions they're going to use to help them feel comfortable, whether it be medical interventions like hormone blockers, or appearance type interventions like wearing binders or waxing facial hair. I hope all of this was helpful. If there's anything that you'd like to talk to me more about in depth, I would be very happy to schedule a discovery call to talk about what your needs are, or even a sample session just to talk for 30 minutes about this issue. And you can DM me or comment on the post if you like that, if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, since I think most of you probably are watching this on the replay, you can always comment underneath, and I will be happy to answer questions in a future Facebook Live or in the group. Thank you all, and as always, thank you all for being such big supports to your kids and for being here and doing what it takes to be that supportive parent. It makes such a big difference in a trans kid's life, and I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. And I hope that you each have a wonderful day.